So one more game to go until another international break, and if Liverpool want to sign off in style after what has been a fantastic run of form, then they'll have to beat Aston Villa at Anfield on Saturday evening. And as usual, we've been hearing from Arne Slot here at the AXA Training Centre about his thoughts on that game and the challenge that's coming up for Liverpool, and loads to get into from this one, lots of interesting stuff. And just before I start actually on what Arne actually had to say, I think one of the things that struck me from this press conference, and one of the things I've been noticing in recent weeks really, is that he's becoming and seeming more and more comfortable and at ease in these situations. Now obviously he's done so many press conferences at Feyenoord, this is not a new situation for him coming into this, but obviously when you change clubs you're coming up against new journalists, new types of questions, you're speaking in a second language as well, which makes it a little bit more uncomfortable. But as I say, just his manner, his demeanour in recent weeks, I just think he's grown and grown into these situations, and just today really struck me how comfortable he seemed and at ease with the questions, and that's been really, really noticeable. A lot more confident in dealing with them, and obviously that is really helpful for him in terms of getting his thoughts across, and obviously very helpful for us as well in terms of knowing exactly what he thinks, and his delivery of that is really, really confident, and is better for us to sort of understand what he's thinking at the moment. So I just thought that was a bit of a kind of striking thing from this press conference that was worth mentioning, because obviously I'm privileged enough to be there and see how Arne deals with us. So yeah, it was just one of the things that really stood out to me. But in terms of what he actually had to say, usually start with the team news, so probably best to start there. And only the one update today, and that was on Diogo Jota, and he was kind of asked about him, how long he's looking at till he's back. Will it be the other side of the international break still? Is there any chance he'd be back before that? And he said it's still going to be after the international break, and unfortunately 1 or 2 weeks after that he expects. So not just going to be immediately ready after the international break, unfortunately. Now he was asked, exactly what is the injury, because you might remember he was said initially when Jota got that injury that it was just some bruising and they were waiting for that to subside, and he said really, I like to lean on the fact that I like to keep the players' privacy from time to time with certain injuries. That was something he often said. He said when he was a manager in Holland, so he lent on that really. So no specifics on that, but I mean, I'm not a doctor, but to me that suggests that maybe there's been a fracture there or a break of some sort in the ribs, because for bruising, for him to be out this long, it just seems a little bit long. Obviously it's still a couple more weeks to go as well. I'd be surprised if there wasn't some break there that he'd sustained when Tosin landed on him in that Chelsea game. So an unlucky one for Jota really, you have to say. And as I say, we're going to be waiting now another couple of weeks after the international break maybe to see him, but hopefully a little bit quicker than that. We'll see how that plays out. And we still haven't heard more about Federico Chiesa, Alisson Becker and Harvey Elliott, but similarly they are all expected the other side of the international break. The exact details on that in terms of whether they're straight back or not, we don't quite know, but it shouldn't be too long for those, and hopefully we get to a point where Liverpool are looking at a full squad in not too long of a time, because obviously the more options you have, the easier it makes it for the manager. So it's been a little bit of a run of injuries he's had recently, so let's hope that subsides soon. And of course, after team news, we always go into that one question that always pops up in every press conference about about the contract. And of course, as journalists, we're all trying different angles to get away for the manager to speak about these. And the way that the question was put to him today was, regardless of where these situations are up to, and we don't know at the moment, and they won't give updates. Arne Slot was asked, would you personally like all three players to stay? That is, of course, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk. And again, played his cards close to his chest as he always does, and he said, look, I do talk about it with Richard Hughes, and that is the place to talk about it, not in front of a microphone. So again, really doesn't want to give anything away about what he thinks about this situation. He's constantly talking to his sporting director about it, but we clearly won't be getting any updates on that. And I would say as well, from his point of view, surely he'd be mad if he didn't want three world-class players to stay put. They're so important to his team. If they've proven that in this early part of the season, I think we can read into the fact that he would absolutely want them to stay. But in terms of whether they will or not, we are none the wiser. We'll have to just see how that develops. Hopefully some updates soon, because that would be great news. And I think it would provide the squad and the whole club and the fans with a boost as well if that were to be announced, any of those contracts being signed. So we'll see how that plays out, and hopefully some news on that soon. Now, a couple of the other talking points, one that I thought was interesting, we've asked about Curtis Jones and Luis Diaz, who've taken big leaps under his guidance so far this season. Not that they were poor players before, but they seem to be playing some of the best football they have for Liverpool in the early part of this season. And just asked about Curtis Jones, I thought he was kind of interesting on him actually, in terms of one of the things he said that you can criticise him for occasionally, obviously accepted he's in brilliant form at the moment, but he said sometimes he's got great confidence, but sometimes he can be a little overconfident, and that leads him to touching the ball a little bit too much. And I thought it was interesting he said that, because I think that's a criticism some fans have had of him in recent history, really, is that he does touch the ball a bit too much. He holds onto it a little bit too long, and obviously that's something that Arne Slot feels he wants to iron out of his game, and I think has ironed out in the early stages of this season. He is releasing the ball a lot quicker, but he did acknowledge obviously that Jones is in fantastic form, and he did say, look, fatherhood seems to have really helped in that regard. It seems like his form has just gone, like that since basically he became a father a few weeks ago. And he said, I can't take credit for that, but it's one of the things that seems to have really kicked him on. And he also said that, look, the demand on him now as well for Curtis Jones is, not just playing well every so often, because he says, players here, the quality that they've got, they should be expected to be able to play well every so often. But he said what the world-class players do is they perform every 3 days, and that is his demand on Curtis Jones, is that he starts to show this form consistently. And I think every fan again would agree with that assessment, really, with Curtis, is that we know he's capable, but can he consistently show that and stay in the team, and crucially for me, stay fit and avoid those little niggling injuries that have set him back from time to time at Liverpool. So hopefully he's able to do that. And of course, on Luis Diaz as well, he was asked why he's in such good form in front of goal at the moment. Obviously he's scoring goals for fun, isn't he, really, which one of the criticisms of him in the past has been the fact that he hasn't quite been prolific. He's been a bit messy in his finishing and not put away the chances, and really I admire Arne Slot's honesty on this. Really, when he was asked about it, he said, look, I've got no clue really why he's playing better now, why he's scoring more goals, but he did say perhaps maybe it's the fact that the team as a whole is making better chances for him, putting him in positions where the finish is easier and making it more straightforward for him to score goals. He thinks that maybe that could be, but he admits that he doesn't really have the exact idea why it's working better for him, but he is delighted that it is doing. And similarly with Curtis Jones, just wants him to keep it up now and see more goals from him now. Another point that you talked about in the press conference as well was the tactics from Villa. Obviously they are in a poor run at the moment, wins proving hard to come by, defeated it against Tottenham at the weekend, beaten in midweek by Club Brugge as well in the Champions League in kind of farcical circumstances as well. So they're lacking confidence at the moment and struggling. And he was asked, do you expect them to try and change things up, to try and make a change to their form and make things a little bit different for them? And he said, to be honest, I've watched a lot of Unai Emery's Aston Villa, and he said and what you get really from week to week is always the same. They are consistent in the way that they approach games, but then he did acknowledge that, look, Bayer Leverkusen come to Anfield in midweek, and you saw that they used the striker Boniface off the left-hand side. They used Wirtz in a false nine position. And he said that that's something he hadn't seen from Bayer Leverkusen before, and that was clearly in an attempt to kind of confuse Liverpool and make it difficult for them. And he said, look, we've got to take that as a compliment that sides are mixing it up, but it's also something to be wary of, the fact that Aston Villa, maybe they will come also and try and do something a little bit different to try and mix things up and make things more difficult for Liverpool. So we'll see. But his overall vibe, as I said, going into that game seemed to me to be positive, full of confidence. It seemed to me like he's looking forward to the game and really, really enjoying life at the Liverpool at the moment. And I have to say, I'm really looking forward to this game as well too. I mean, Liverpool in remarkable form at the moment. It's going into that Saturday night 8 p.m. kickoff. I think the atmosphere is going to be fantastic because everyone's had a few more pints, to be honest. And it's a chance for Liverpool to stay top and cap what's been a remarkable run, really, and a remarkable start to the season, going into that international break. And of course City at Brighton in the kickoff just before that, the 5:30 kickoff. So I mean, imagine if they drop points in that one, what it's going to be like at Anfield. What an opportunity for Liverpool that would be. But it's a big opportunity anyway to stay top of the Premier League, so hopefully they can take that. So as I say, I'm excited. Do let me know in the comments how you guys are feeling about this start to the season, how you feeling about the Villa game, what do you expect from that one, and you fancy a Liverpool winning this one? I'm sure you all do with the form that they're in at the moment. And of course I will be at Anfield as usual to do my post-match review of the game, so don't miss that. And if you can like and subscribe the video, massively appreciated. And of course I will see you on Saturday evening to hopefully talk about a big win over Aston Villa. See you then.